Welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And this episode is a double special episode because we have two special guests with us later on in the episode, John and Adam Spees from the Blast from Our Past podcast, and we are going to review the shit show that is X-Men Origins Wolverine.
And by special, we don't necessarily mean special ed. These are two great, insightful guys, hilarious guests to have on the show, and we're super grateful and lucky to have them. Why are we reviewing X-Men Origins Wolverine, you may ask?
Because we are riding the Deadpool train.
Because we're riding the Deadpool
Until
train.
It crashes.
We think that this film is topical, especially since they kind of retconned the film in the Deadpool 2 movie, and apparently that was canon. So we thought this is a good time to bring it up. And, you know, eventually we're going to get to all of these films. And we figured we'd get this one out of the way.
Yeah. And also because we really just wanted to have these guys on the show. Because if you haven't heard from the Blast from Our Past podcast, definitely check it out. It's a great show. You'll find out later on in the episode.
Yeah, but before we get into the X-Men Origins Wolverine review, we're going to go over the news from the past week.
Right, and there isn't much news. There's a lot of rumors and speculations and leaks and stuff going on right now.
That we refuse to comment on.
I don't really like commenting on that because it's kind of pointless until we get an official word. I mean, we've done it before. It's just not too common that we do that. So we're not going to do it this time. This episode, we're going to be talking about the Wonder Woman sequel logo that was revealed by Jeff Johns on his social media accounts.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's interesting. And then we have a behind-the-scenes look at Jigsaw from the Punisher television series.
Yeah, season 2.
That is also interesting. So just a reminder, this Thursday, as we do every Thursday, we'll be releasing a bonus episode on our Patreon. It's the first Thursday of the month. That means it's our blooper episode. We'll have a preview of that at the end of this episode.
Yeah, and just a reminder that this Thursday, as we release the new blooper episode, the previous blooper episodes will be archived. So if you want access to the archived content, there's a $5 tier that you can access. Otherwise, if you join up today or tomorrow, this being Tuesday, I have no idea what it is.
June 4th.
June 4th. If you sign up before June 6th, you can get access to the previous blooper episodes for just $2 a month on the $2 a month tier.
Yeah.
So go ahead and check that out. It is hilarious, and don't forget to stay tuned again after this episode for that preview of the bloopers.
Right. If you go to our Patreon, you'll notice that our lowest goal right now is to get 25 subscribers, patrons.
Yes.
At which point we will start printing and mailing out the no prizes that we draw up for our users, and it's something we've always wanted to do, and that will allow us to do it.
Correct.
Speaking of no prizes,
it's no prize time.
So a no prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on our social media accounts that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
A digital award, hopefully soon to be a physical award.
Yes. Yeah. Last week's question was, who is your favorite original character that didn't make their debut in the comics, but in a DC or Marvel television series or film?
We got a few great answers here. We want to give a quick honorable mention to Batman Beyond was one of the answers, given by Ken Johnson. Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond. I want to give a shout out to Tim Brown, who answered Firestar, which we also thought was a good answer, although Firestar hasn't really gone anywhere since the Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends, although she was a prominent Avenger in the early part of this decade. But anyway, Agent Phil Coulson, that was another fantastic answer. It was an obvious one, but nevertheless a great one because, you know, he branched out into his own TV show and everything, and that was given to us by Batman, and Rory Scott. But the winner
goes to Dylan Sarno, who gave the answer of Harley Quinn.
That was also a pretty obvious answer, but
it's the best answer. She's one of the biggest characters in DC now. You know, so much so that Jim Lee considers her a fourth column of DC, like a fourth member of the Trinity, as it were.
The others being Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Right. I mean, marketing-wise,
she's huge.
She's gigantic.
Yeah.
She's just so popular.
Right.
So it is, of course, I think the best answer for the question. So, yeah, we gave it to Dylan Sarno. Congrats. And I'm pretty sure someone else gave the answer Harley Quinn, but then deleted their answer.
I don't remember who did that.
I don't remember who did it either. But if that was you, don't do that. Leave your answers up, and you could win a no prize next time.
we'll be asking another question of the week later on this episode, so go ahead and stay tuned for that.
Right.
And so let's get on to the news.
Okay, so last week, Jeff Johns, who is the president and chief creative officer of DC Entertainment, he released via his social media accounts an image. It's a logo that says WW84. So what does this mean? Everyone is assuming that this refers to the Wonder Woman sequel, which apparently looks like it's going to be titled Wonder Woman 1984.
That's weird. We know for sure that the movie is going to be a period piece set during the Cold War.
Yes.
They registered a lot of domain names
right.
in relation to the possible title of this film.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
Including like Wonder Woman 2, Wonder Woman 1984. Oh, they got all the 80s.
They got all of the 80s. So 1980, 81, 82, and so on. They also did like Wonder Woman Arrives, Wonder Woman Cheetah, Wonder Woman Lives, Wonder Woman Returns, Wonder Woman Rises.
I liked Wonder Woman Returns.
We knew that one of the titles for the film was going to be, one of these domains that they had registered.
Yes.
And it looks like it's 1984, according to the logo that Jeff Johns released. Now, the logo itself is kind of reminiscent of, like old television.
Like a tube television.
Static. It reminds me a lot of like Network, that movie.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't even know how to describe it. Serious looking. It's very serious looking to me. We know that this is set during the Cold War, which was a serious time. So like this kind of like static-y image, it kind of invokes almost like a sense of dread, to me at least. I don't know, maybe I just associate dread with old television. I don't know why.
Maybe, I'm trying to figure out the plot according to this. I agree that it looks very serious. It's set during the Cold War. I'm wondering if in this movie she's preventing some kind of nuclear war.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way.
But the way that it's set up, like the tube television style, it almost looks like maybe is she part of like the broadcast media in this or something?
I don't know. It's very like Please Stand By-ish kind of to me. But just the year 1984 really kind of invokes some kind of like Orwellian story approach, I would think. Because the famous book by George Orwell, 1984, you always wonder if there's going to be some kind of totalitarian state or Big Brother kind of component to it.
You also have to wonder if maybe this is just the working title, because this is so far removed from the marketing style of the first Wonder Woman film. A valid theory is that this is the working title for the film that just happens to have its own logo to kind of sell the concept of what the film is going to be like, as opposed to actual marketing for the film itself.
I would be surprised just because of the domains that they registered and because they've never released a logo for a working title before.
What if they're doing a viral marketing campaign for this film like they did for The Dark Knight?
Oh my gosh, I loved that marketing campaign. That is like the greatest marketing campaign next to like Deadpool that has ever been for a superhero film.
Yeah.
I hope they do that. That would be really cool. But I would be surprised if this was a working title. I think this is the official title for the film, which doesn't like thrill me. I'm not like, Wonder Woman 1984. Oh my gosh, I have to go see that. One thing I really like about Marvel films is they use in their titles storyline titles. So
story arcs from the comics.
Yeah, Civil War and
Age of Ultron.
Wars. Yeah, so I don't know. They're not obviously going that route for this title. I'm just wondering, like, what is it supposed to mean beyond just the fact that this is the setting of the film? I think, again, it has to be some kind of like Orwellian call out.
I think that's a good guess. It certainly piques my interest.
We know that Cheetah is going to be the villain in the film, or at least Barbara Minerva, I guess, will be a character in the film. There is one more actor. What is his name? Pascal. Don't know who Pedro Pascal is going to play in this film yet. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be the male lead, one of the leads in the film. Yep. But I'm not sure if he's going to be a villain or a love interest or both, or who he's going to be.
I think Steve Trevor is going to make it back.
I think he will as well, but I don't know. It's all, there's so much mystery behind it. Anything we talk about now is just going to be speculation, but I'm definitely interested in learning more about what this title means.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it's speculation, but I mean, we're not speculating on a rumor. It's interesting that this is like something that has been officially released. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the news regarding The Punisher Season 2 and the first look at Jigsaw, taken from some behind the scenes photos that were posted on justjared.com.
Right.
The reason that this is noteworthy is because it is so disappointing. Now, the set photos that were taken of a scene that is a shootout between the Punisher and Jigsaw.
Right.
So it looks like Jigsaw returns as the villain for season 2.
Yeah.
Now, Punisher looks freaking fantastic. John Bernthal is wearing the vest with the Punisher skull on it. And if you remember from season 1, he didn't wear that too often in that first season. It was a great first season, but the valid criticism of it is that it didn't have enough vigilante justice action. This one, just judging off these photos, looks like it rights that wrong because he's already wearing the skull vest and he's been shot a few times and there's blood on his chest that's going over the skull. He looks straight out of the comics. He looks so perfect as the character. Jigsaw, on the other hand, does not look straight out of the comics. He has a few scars on his face, and if you had seen Punisher season 1 on Netflix, you would know that
he should have a lot more scars on his face.
Yeah, because the Punisher broke a mirror with his face and then like slid his face down the mirror, getting all those, tiny glass shards in his face and everything like that. It was really gruesome. It was hard to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
It was really violent, but a great setup for the character that we know and love from the comics, whose face is so scarred up that it almost looks like a jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
I would not say that this looks like a jigsaw puzzle, and it probably doesn't even merit the name Jigsaw. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he has a big scar going down his forehead, another scar going diagonal across his forehead, scar around his eyes, scars on his cheek. His right cheek is pretty heavily scarred.
No, I mean, and it doesn't even look like that bad of scarring. I mean, it looks like his scars are going to heal. It's not like Heath Ledger's Joker's like side of the mouth where it's like, like this bubbly kind of like deep scar.
Yeah.
Like this just looks like he's going to heal in a few months.
Just put some Neosporin on that
There you
sucker.
go. There you go.
Some antibacterial cream. You're bright as rain. It's a little disappointing. His nose is a little effed up too. But I'm wondering if maybe he's applying some kind of makeup or something over the scars out of vanity, because we know that Billy Russo is an incredibly vain character, and that's one of the main reasons that he hates the Punisher so much is because his face keeps getting fucked up. And yeah, there have been advancements in plastic surgery and stuff like that, so much so that I see videos on Facebook and stuff of people who have had their faces completely destroyed get new faces and stuff. But those faces don't move quite the way they should. His face is so expressive in these behind the scenes photos that you could tell that that's not the case.
Right.
It would have been cool if it was the case, actually. Like if his face was so messed up that they did a huge skin graft and it did look a little Michael Myers-ish.
But then it wouldn't be Jigsaw.
But then it wouldn't be Jigsaw. You're right. But it would still be creepy. I would prefer that to this. This is just light scarring.
You mentioned that, throughout the history of the comics, his face continuously gets destroyed by the Punisher. So I'm hoping that this is just sort of like Jigsaw 1.0. And eventually, he's going to keep getting his face messed up by the Punisher.
Yes. Through the course of this season is what I would want to see.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see him go through the whole season looking like this and then get his face messed up more, only to come back in the third season as the primary villain again.
Right.
Maybe just have him as the villain in the first couple of episodes, maybe, where his face gets messed up even more.
Yeah.
And then move on to a different villain or something.
Right.
Somebody new.
Are you happy that Jigsaw's returning this season?
No. I would have saved Jigsaw for like season 3 or something like that. Kind of like how they had the Kingpin as the primary antagonist for Daredevil season 1.
Yeah.
And then kind of, put him on the sidelines for season 2.
Yeah.
And then it looks like they're bringing him back for season 3, Mm-hmm. That's what I would have done with Jigsaw. I think it's nice to mix it up a little bit with these Netflix shows.
Because you could say that the Punisher's whole kind of like vigilante crusade on low street crime we kind of saw that in Daredevil season 2.
Right.
Which was cool. But the first season, it was more of a revenge story, I guess, in a way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree. It would have been nice to see him kind of get, because that's what's great about the comics, I think. It's like, how's the Punisher going to take out this person, this bad person?
Right.
And that's kind of like one of the joys of the Punisher, in my opinion. So because Jigsaw played such a huge role in the Punisher's origin in season 1, I'm wondering if they're going to maintain this personal story or if it will be, more street.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd like to see a different villain, and yeah, we'll see where this goes. But mess up that face. I was going to say fix that face, but do the opposite of fix that face. Mess it up more. Yeah.
And that brings us to our question of the week. Who do you think is the worst looking supervillain in a Marvel or DC television show or film? Go ahead and post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. next week.
All right, that does it for all of the news. So with that out of the way, let's get John and Adam here on the line and talk to them about the shit show that is X-Men Origins Wolverine. We'll have a lot of fun. All right, typically at the start of every review, I like to recommend that nobody actually listen to the review before seeing the film. That is not the case in this film because this is a really horrible movie, and if I could prevent everybody from watching this movie, I will. I'm happy to announce that we are joined by the Blast from Our Past podcast, both Adam and John ShDEsI. Why don't you guys go ahead and say hello?
Hello.
Hey.
We used to work with Adam ShDEsI at our old job, and John is his brother, and they put on a really fantastic show that if you have not listened to it yet, maybe don't even listen to this horrible review and just go listen to that because you'll have a better time. But no, stay and listen to this one and then go over to their podcast. Tell us a little bit about what your podcast is about.
Sure. So we are a nostalgic-based podcast. John and I grew up, much like everybody else in the 80s and early 90s, just flooded and inundated with fantastic shows and some shitty shows. And so we go back and watch them and we review them. We do a full movie review and then a kind of a general TV review. And then for every episode, we do a recasting either of those old shows or movies or recast something that we just really fucking love. Mostly that's comic-based because we're both comic nerds.
Do you have any favorite episodes that you guys have put on that you would recommend to the listeners?
I would highly recommend listening to our Batman and X-Men show because we had some really cool guests on that one.
We guested on their episode where they reviewed the X-Men animated TV show and the Batman the Animated Series TV show from the early 90s. And that was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
But I don't know if it was your best episode.
Yeah.
My favorite episode is probably not our most popular episode. It was the one that we did with our father.
Oh, the Bonanza one?
Yeah, Bonanza.
The Bonanza and...
Billy Jack.
That was a good one.
Yeah. I really enjoyed our Land Before Time episode. What's fun about that episode is John likes to add in like little facts that he will research stuff that I won't. I focus on the movie, and John brings in some additional stuff, and he dropped a bomb on me in that movie. I was just like kind of crushed a little bit from watching that one, so I highly recommend that one, or maybe our Home Alone review is actually pretty damn good too.
Yeah. I also enjoyed your Beetlejuice review.
Oh, thanks.
And your Who Framed Roger Rabbit movie. I went and watched both of those movies again after listening to your show, so.
Nice.
I totally get nostalgia feels listening to it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of things I forgot about, like sidekicks. I was like, holy shit, I totally forgot about sidekicks.
There's a fun movie that I remembered as a kid, and yeah, exactly. It was one that not a lot of people still talk about, and so we wanted to make sure, like, get that shit in there, because then it'll spark people's brains of being like, oh, fuck yeah, I watched that silly-ass, Karate Kid ripoff. And it's good.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the review itself. I guess there's nothing really more that needs to be said overall about the movie than it's just a fucking shit show. It's horrible. It's bad on every level, has bad acting, lazy writing. I remember the first time I saw X-Men Origins Wolverine in the theater, I remember walking out wishing they had handed out lipstick before the showing.
Yeah.
Because I like to look pretty whenever I get fucked. And that's what this movie did. It fucked over the fans of Wolverine and Deadpool and X-Men in general.
Yeah. I was living in Hollywood at the time, and I went to a Thursday midnight showing because John and I are massive Deadpool fans.
Right.
He's our favorite comic character. We both have read quite a bit of his catalog, and this was going to be the first theatrical release of Deadpool in any big film. And so I was getting really fucking excited. And so I went to the midnight showing, and I came back. I couldn't fucking sleep. I was so pissed. I had to get on Facebook, and I had to write this entire fucking rant because of how much they took a massive steaming dump on my favorite character. Yeah, I was not happy.
I saw it for the first time last night.
Wow.
And he didn't think it was that bad. Okay, so my expectations were really, really low. as a Wolverine film, yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. As if this was a Deadpool film, this would be 0 stars. Like, hands down. I don't know what the fuck they did with that character. The last shot, I'm still haunted by it.
Yeah.
Like the after credits shot.
Yes.
It's like, what the fuck was that? It was like nightmare fuel.
I heard a interview with Ryan Reynolds who said that after credits shot was shot after they had already tested the movie, and the executive came to him and said, they hate what we did with the character. We need to add something in to give them hope. And his response was, well, yeah, look what you did with them.
Yeah, that did not give me hope. That gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
It's so weird to see Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson being someone completely different in this film.
Yeah.
He wasn't funny at all.
No. Yeah, the jokes didn't land. He also only had like 3 or 4 lines, it felt like. It was worthless.
Let's go ahead and get into the whole Weapon X group. That first scene where they're flying into the African compound because they're looking for vibranium, even though they don't actually reference it as vibranium. This was when I knew that the movie was going to be bad.
Don't you mean...
Don't you mean adamantium?
No.
Because they were...
It was vibranium.
Was it vibranium? Because they were talking about even the meteor thing I thought was adamantium the entire time.
No. Well, they were actually pretty true to the comics here in that adamantium in the comics is a vibranium steel alloy.
Okay.
And Stryker, during the Weapon X scene, or when they're putting in the adamantium into Wolverine, he mentions that they used that metal from the meteor to create a compound that is indestructible.
I just missed that part because there are so many dicks in my ears from them fucking me over with this movie. Every hole, man.
Well, I guess I knew that this film was going to be bad, actually, if I'm being honest. I knew this film was going to be bad from the opening scene when little kid Wolverine pops out his claws for the first time, and he's like,
Yeah. John and I refreshed ourselves last night by watching it, and we just both cracked up when, that little kid, his bone claws come out for the first time, and he looks up to the sky and does his awful scream. It is very disappointing.
There's a ton of cliche bits in this film, like howling up to the sky, almost like Shawshank Redemption kind of style. And then this is when the film got bad for me, when Logan is slow walking away from the helicopter explosion.
Yeah.
It looks so fake.
Yes. Also just the other cliche shit with the team, and they're killing people in Vietnam, and he doesn't want to do it, and he gives that classic I didn't sign up for this shit. And it's so bad.
That's right. Well, it's there was no humanity at all in this movie.
Yeah.
It's all service level. It's like the filmmakers manage to make the movie in a way where I don't care about what happens to any of the characters because none of them felt real. They were all distorted caricatures of what they should have been. And also, there were too many characters in this movie. You didn't need Gambit. You didn't need Cyclops. You didn't need a lot of these guys. You didn't need the Blob. You didn't need that teleporting guy. Wraith.
Yeah, John Wraith that no one knows and no one cares about. And Will.i.am's performance wanted me to just scoop out my eyes with a spoon, Alan Rickman style, and just fucking... I couldn't stand it.
Acting-wise, across the board, I think the only one who did a good job was Hugh Jackman.
Liev Schreiber.
I think maybe Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
But even then again, I hated that version of Sabretooth.
What?
I did too.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I will defend Liev Schreiber's Saber. He's so superior to Tyler Mane and his X-Men 2000s one, but to me, Hugh Jackman and Liev Schreiber did a good job. Everybody else can go suck a dick.
I agree. I will defend Liev Schreiber too. I think he was one of the best parts of this. He portrayed the character in a convincing way, I think. And it could have been cheesy with lines where he's like, ooh, shiny.
Yeah.
But he pulled it off. He was menacing, I think. Mm-hmm. He didn't look as much like the character as Tyler Mane did, but he acted like the character more. And I think that's the thing. I'm not too familiar with Sabretooth from the comics. I don't think I've ever read a comic with Sabretooth in it. So, when I think of Sabretooth, I don't think of Liev Schreiber. He did a good job acting. It was a good performance. But the way the character would, leap, on all fours and, prank,
run.
That's
like Sabretooth, though. That worked well.
Yeah. Does he do that? Yes. Okay. To me, that was more Beast. I just don't know the character, apparently. Power-wise, they're very similar, so... that's true. Let's talk about the wire work in this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bad.
That's rough.
Like when Sabretooth is running on walls, or when Deadpool's spinning.
Helicopter spin thing.
Slashing.
Or when Wolverine flies Ish up to the helicopter. All that stuff. really bad.
What if they had shot the missile like at a different point that launched the Hummer up that Wolverine was standing on, so that he was like 3 feet higher, flying toward the helicopter?
Yeah. That would have been...
right into the blades.
Loved it. It needed to happen. It should have happened. But he would have been fine. He had an adamantium skull, though.
That's true.
If you want to talk semantics.
So one of my overall notes is it was as if the writer and director didn't really know what the X-Men were and expected fans to just lap up whatever half-baked story they wanted to tell with characters they knew nothing about. But to me, the most unforgivable things about the film were the way that they handled his origin as a young boy and how they adapted the Weapon X story when he received the adamantium.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
neutered both of those storylines.
Yeah.
The whole film felt neutered.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Particularly, I know John has a big gripe with the switch from the adamantium and the claws being a scientific addition to the bone claws. John hates the bone claws.
I hate bone claws. But yeah, no, I was not a fan. I didn't like when they did it in the comics either, because it felt like they retroactively added that after Magneto took all the adamantium out of Wolverine. I just didn't like it.
I always hated that too.
I hate it when they retcon shit. I hate it when they don't follow the own rules that they set for themselves.
I think a lot of people aren't fans of the bone claws. I think I'm one of them.
I hate the look of them.
Yeah.
Like if they were just coated in metal, they wouldn't look like knives.
Jagged.
It would look like just weird, like bubbly protrusions. They would hurt to come out. It was hand, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's one thing they never touched on. I thought it was a great moment in the very first X-Men film when Rogue asked Wolverine, when they come out, do they hurt? And he was like, every time. And it was a powerful moment, kind of. But the first time he pops his claws outside of Weapon X, you know, it's in a scene that's played for laughs. You know, he's like fucking like almost getting caught masturbating in the bathroom. That kind of vibe, you know? They're like, what are you doing in there? Nothing.
Yeah. And since you brought that up, that is probably my least favorite CGI in the entire fucking film.
Oh my God.
Is his claws in that bathroom scene. They don't track well. They look just like they were from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like a cartoon artist drew that shit on his knuckles, and they tried to like track it with manual hand drawing, and it was awful.
The lighting was so off.
Yeah.
It looked like they existed in a different dimension or something than the bathroom he was standing in.
Yeah, I wonder if they were trying to make them look like extra shiny or something like that. I don't know. Because they looked very clean. This was like the cleanest you'd ever seen them, but they also looked super fake.
Yeah.
Speaking of the visual effects, there was a version of this movie that was released before it went into theaters that was leaked online, and it had a bunch of unfinished effects. And then everybody went into the theater to see the movie and realized, oh no, those were the finished effects.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. Like everything, the green screen all over the place is atrocious. You can pick it out. It hurts me. I work in this fucking industry, and I just...
Are you crying? Are you crying, Adam?
Shut up.
Something's in my eye.
Yeah.
There's no crying. There's no crying in podcasts.
I want to go back to that kid at the very beginning, little Logan, or little James Howlett. When he goes to run to stab his real dad, that shot haunts me. The camera's following Wolverine as he's running, but the kid's not running. He's running with like both arms straight out, like he doesn't know how to fucking run, and he's just stabbing from like all the way across the room, as opposed to where you would like you run from each side to the other, and this kid is just like flying. It looks like a joke shot. I can pick this one apart. Like we can go scene by scene, and I would vomit by the end of this podcast.
It actually kind of reminds me of the scene in Jurassic Park when the girl's trying to help them shut the door, and she's running forward with both hands out.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
With the velociraptors.
Yep.
The absolute, in my opinion, the only like 2-minute quality portion of this film, John doesn't agree, but I think it's the opening title credits. I actually like that. Wolverine and Sabretooth going through like a little montage of different wars that they've gone through, just kind of like setting up their powers, setting up Sabretooth's bloodlust. I think it works. I like the title credits. I like the style, the style that they did with that.
The music.
The music was fine. If it was done nowadays, they would have done like a cool classic rock song to it, and I think that probably would have been better. But it was fun. Like that part, I wasn't out of it yet. Like watching this in the theater, I was like, okay, I just saw this shitty little fucking kid actor who can't act his way out of a paper bag, kill his father. And
But it's a kid. It's forgivable.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
And then it's not. And then I get this fairly decent opening title credit. I wish someone would have conked me over the head, and that would have been the end of my memory of this film. But then the movie continued for another hour and a half, and that's the problem.
Yeah. One thing I really hated was that it wasn't as dark as it needed to be. You didn't really get the sense that Sabretooth's character, Victor, was abused. I think they needed to establish that just to establish his bloodlust later on. Because it's like, why is he a bad guy? Well, why does he have bloodlust?
Yeah.
Why is he this way? And I think they needed to further clarify that, hey, he was abused by his father.
Did you guys read Wolverine Origin?
I have, yes.
The comic?
I didn't like that they made Sabretooth and Wolverine brothers in this one. I don't
like
want
that either.
I don't need that.
Yeah, they replaced the character of
Dog, yeah.
Yeah, with Sabretooth in this film. But the reveal in the second issue of Wolverine Origin, where you find out that this sickly little kid is going to grow up to be the hero that we know and love as Wolverine.
Because you all think it's going to be Dog at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, that's what they kind of led you to believe, and they did it effectively. But yeah, I would also agree that the best part of the movie was the opening credits. I like the way that worked. But John, what do you think was the best part of the movie if it wasn't that?
The end credits. I wish I had a better answer
that was much
for
better.
you. But
I don't think the opening montage was the best scene.
Okay.
My favorite scene was actually when what was his girlfriend's name?
Kayla Silverfox.
Silver Fox. When Silver Fox is explaining the Moon story and how he got the name Wolverine.
What? That was the most
awful
stupid,
story.
ridiculous, convoluted way to introduce a superhero name in the history of superhero names.
I thought it was cool. It was
It was
horrible.
not. You were wrong.
Choo.
Yeah, it was. That was cheesy. It was bad. I didn't cry one bit when she fake died and real died. I was almost cheering by the time she really died. Her acting was really fucking rough. Yeah, not a fan of the Silver Fox character.
I hated the twist. That was a really dumb twist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where it turns out she's a tactile telepath and really she's been manipulating him all along as part of Weapon X's plan.
Yeah.
I felt like that was supposed to be profound, but it was really just stupid.
Yeah. Women have been persuading me with their touch for years now, so I get it. You don't even have to have mutant powers for me to just do whatever you say if you touch me.
Just put your hand on my shoulder and be like, Jonathan, go give me a drink. Right away.
Maybe a
Oh,
little-
I'm unsheathing.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know, sorry.
What the fuck was that? What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. Let's talk about William Stryker. I feel like I like Danny Huston as an actor, but really I've hated every movie that he's been in, except for Wonder Woman. But I didn't like his performance in that movie.
Yeah. I didn't hate him as Stryker, but I certainly didn't. He didn't do anything for me. And as you put it before, how they adjusted the Weapon X program, it didn't work for me. I mean, yes, they kind of got a lot of the manipulative side of Weapon X in there, but it was just off. Obviously, the combining of everyone's mutant powers into the abortion that was Deadpool is one thing. That aside, one of the biggest issues is they had Wolverine. He voluntarily chose to join and get adamantium. No, they fucking manipulate his ass. I know they kind of do in this movie, but he's completely an experiment. In the comics, anyway, that it doesn't line up at all with his character, and it doesn't work with his character in this one.
Yeah, there was a scene in the X-Men 2 movie where he kind of flashes back when he meets Stryker again for the first time, where he's running out of the Weapon X facility and he's covered in blood and he lets out this blood-curdling scream, and it made me excited to see that Weapon X story in a movie. And this was the complete opposite of that. He didn't get any blood on him. He didn't kill anybody.
No.
In the comics, he killed almost everybody in that facility, and it was a hardcore thing.
Yeah.
And in this, he just kind of he showed his butt, he killed a dude, he slashed an
Several
X
times.
into a door, and then he jumped down a waterfall.
Yeah.
They kind of touched on that in the X-Men Apocalypse movie when they, made it a little bit more true to the comics, where it was wearing the helmet and had all the wires and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But that still was a shit movie, too.
Oscar Isaacs was an awful choice for Apocalypse, in my opinion.
He was.
Did you guys like the way that they added the adamantium to him? Because, like, in the comics, you know, he's supposed to have, like, all these, like, wires popping out of him and stuff. And here it was just, like, syringe, inject, ta-da!
I mean, that's not where... I was so distracted by so many other fucking awful parts that the minimal usage of needles wasn't where I'm going to put down my foot. But I'm glad you have your priorities.
Okay, let's talk about Gambit. So later on in the film, after he gets the adamantium, he goes and meets Gambit.
Taylor Kitsch, heartthrob from Friday Night Lights. Oh my god, he's a dream. Have you seen that show? Oh, melts.
No.
He makes me melt.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm not. I mean, you get him outside shirtless in the rain, yeah, I'm fucking done.
I believe it.
I can't even tell if he's kidding.
Like, well, he may be good on TV, but he's like box office poison apparently. You know, with this film and John Carter of Mars and Battleship. Or maybe he just makes bad choices. I don't know.
Well, we used to say that about Jason Momoa too, before he was on Game of Thrones.
What did he do? What did he do before?
He was on Stargate Atlantis, and that did okay.
Conan,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that was after. Conan was after Game of Thrones. He was established.
Oh, okay.
That's probably how he got the role.
Yeah.
But you referred to the character of Deadpool as an abortion, which I thought was funny because in my notes I referred to Deadpool as an abomination. Yeah. But I'm going to save that term now for Gambit.
Okay.
Because what the fuck was that? That was not Gambit. He had like telekinesis powers, over his cards.
How they made him like flip over his cards, and they kind of like, he was telekinetic with them. That was really fucking weird. I didn't like it.
They made him out to be like a Cajun pimp.
Yeah, he had a big cane.
It wasn't a bow staff because it had a head on it, so it looked like a big cane.
Right.
And he had that dumb hat.
He didn't have nearly good enough Cajun accent because, as we talked about before, with the X-Men animated show, like the Rogue and Gambit relationship that they had in that show, that set the basis for my Rogue and my Gambit. And this Gambit was just a tiny little drop of what the full bottle of Gambit should be.
Yeah, one of the things I was most upset about, in addition to the telekinesis, was that these cards are supposed to release their kinetic energy explosively.
Yes.
But when he throws the card at Wolverine, it fucking bounces off of his chest. And then he gets yanked, with the wires. It's so fucking obvious. Yeah. It's so horrible. It's so bad. And then later on, apparently he has like the ability to teleport because in one scene he's getting knocked to the ground by Wolverine,
and then he's up on the face rooftops.
Yes,
immediately after
like
running.
Seconds later.
So bad. And I want to bring up when he jumps down, he uses his bow staff as a fucking helicopter, and they even add the helicopter sounds as he's falling to break his fall. I was fucking stunned. Gambit doesn't have helicopter spinning powers of his bow staff. It's really, really bad.
Well, he can spin it fast because he can charge it with kinetic energy, but I've never seen him use it like a helicopter. No, he can't. Because he would just do that in the comics. It's like, I got to get out of this situation. Let me just use my helicopter.
It's so fucking fast that you can parachute down. You're still gonna fall. Gravity is still fucking 9.8 meters per second. You're still falling that fucking fast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no lift on that staff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Pimp cane.
The physics are way off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the physics does not apply to any character in this movie. Especially when Gambit later on, he was running up the wall.
Yeah.
Like
oh
Spider-Man
my god!
would.
With his fucking with his half bow staff pulls as he's jamming him in. He's not that strong.
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
And then he does this leap over across the alleyway that they're in, but it's shot in such slow motion.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are Gambit's powers again? Because apparently he has wall crawling abilities, helicopter powers, telekinesis,
and pimp powers. Don't forget.
Just all this weird shit.
We haven't talked about the Blob at all, and just how fucking bad.
I was trying not to.
Yeah, his boobies were very distracting in that boxing scene. They're almost hypnotizing. Yeah,
I was just looking at how much his face was sunk into his neck.
because the actor's not that fat, and so they just added the
Right.
prosthetics that did not work. And as a fairly fat guy, that's not how fat works. Just so they know. Yeah, the Blob was one of my least favorite characters. They gave little to no context, particularly early on. You know, everyone else, you saw the powers when they were like, you know, doing the Vietnam thing or whatever, wherever they were. And all of a sudden you just see Fred Dukes, and he's just like this big, seems like a strong guy, but he didn't have any powers. Like, he didn't establish anything. They didn't show that he is the immovable Blob, and that not just because of his size, but he has, you know, a mutant ability that you can't really move him. And then he just gets fat and hideous, and his acting is so bad, and his titties are bouncing everywhere, and it's rough. I couldn't stand the Blob.
No, yeah, like his mutant powers, he can increase his personal gravity. Yeah. So I understand how the tank thing worked.
That's what I was going to mention.
The tank thing.
So he could stop like a tank missile, but Logan can knock him down.
Yeah.
So dumb. I did like the line where he was like, "Did you just call me Blob?"
Oh yeah, it's obvious he said Bub.
Oh, I guess one other character we didn't talk about was Agent Zero.
Oh yeah.
Who in the comics, he's Maverick. You know,
yeah.
he was on Team X with Sabretooth and Wolverine and stuff, but his ability was to absorb kinetic energy. Mm-hmm. What the fuck was his power in this?
Yeah, just shoot really, really fast. Agent, which is kind of like, I mean, they've retconned him a little bit in the comics, and he's become Agent Zero, and he's kind of like a gun guy, and so he's much more like he was in this film. But I agree, it is just, yeah, you can pull your trigger fingers fast, and that's about it. And I don't care about you, just like everybody else in this fucking movie. So.
I do think that anyone who's not familiar with the comics probably likes this film a lot more than we do. Yeah. I mean, they're probably confused as to what Gambit does, but it's probably not that bad. We don't like those people.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you, this is a horrible movie.
Fuck you and fuck them.
I think the reason I came out of it not hating it as much as I think other people is because I kind of give two shits about the characters as a DC guy, so it was a little bit more forgivable. I kind of feel like, yeah, if you're going to interpret Gambit, that's not the worst interpretation. It doesn't necessarily get me excited for a Channing Tatum film, but...
I'm not excited about the Channing Tatum film. Maybe he'll do some voice work and his Cajun accent will step up, but I just don't think that's something that's going to play. Yeah, it's going to make my dick shrivel.
Also, he seems too bulked up for what I'd want a Gambit to be.
Well, I mean, you remember from the comics, though, Gambit was pretty swole. I mean, everybody in the comics was pretty swole.
That's not a fair assessment.
All the women were, like, super tiny-waisted and massive-chested. That's not how fat works, people.
Don't I know it?
Yeah.
They're all implants.
Yeah.
So before we go into the final scene where he confronts Weapon 11, one thing I want to mention regarding Kayla Silverfox's death and why the twist didn't work for me is that I don't think that he would have ever believed that she died, because Wolverine would have been able to tell that there were no slash marks on her.
Yeah.
He would have been able to hear her breathing. Just like she may have taken this drug that reduces her heartbeat, but he can hear at great distances. Yeah. He has superhuman senses. Why didn't he know that she wasn't dead?
Yeah, he didn't check her body for the cuts. He just assumed, some spilled blood. Must be hers, and she's passed out. Yeah, he didn't try to revive her. He didn't check her for anything. He didn't take her to the hospital. I mean, in his opinion, she was human, and he didn't try. He just assumed death. Yeah, he's a bad fucking husband. Yeah, I don't like that guy. And we're all husbands, all four of us. Yeah, if my wife just laid on the ground, I'm like, she's probably dead. And I just walk away.
Oh, there's blood on her. I'm going to walk away now. And never think of this again.
Yep.
So dumb. All right, so yeah, let's get into that final scene with the twist. And did you guys know when you first saw the film that Weapon 11 that he was building was going to be Deadpool? Because I did not.
No. Complete and utter twist to me as well. I wasn't expecting that.
I just thought we were going to get Wade Wilson, and because he was in the promotional material, like waving his swords around and slicing bullets in half and shit.
Yeah, that was... I'm really glad they made fun of that scene in the new Deadpool movie. And in the trailer they did it too, but yeah. It's like rewatching it, oh my god, it's bad. I forgot how bad it was. Like, watching Deadpool 2, because it'd been maybe a couple years since I watched this movie. And when I was watching it, Deadpool 2, I was like, oh, they're making fun of it. It wasn't that terrible of a scene. And then I watched it here, and I'm like, oh my god, that was a really fucking bad scene. Like, oh, he looked ridiculous. It didn't make any sense. That's not how Deadpool works. He's not that fast.
It was like he was just waving the swords around, and it was like, okay, guys, I hope you CG a lot of bullets here.
Well, the way that they did it, like, it looked like it was like a Darth Maul double-sided sword, and he was just swinging it. He was just swinging it like for funsies, and he got every bullet.
When they first introduced the character of Deadpool as he is in this, where they sewed his mouth shut, and they had the weird scarred eyes and the Sharpie markers all over his body and stuff. I was like, it was bad starting out. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then he pulled out these retractable sword blades coming out of his forearms, and I'm like, those swords are too long. How is he going to hold them in his body and still bend his elbow?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Can't.
And I thought also that they put the adamantium in him. Apparently they didn't. They just did it with the blades. I thought if they proved that they would put adamantium all over his entire body, they did the adamantium with Wolverine. I thought they would have put adamantium all over this Weapon 11. But
I thought they did.
I don't think so. Because Wolverine cut off his head so fucking easily. Wouldn't he have stopped at the adamantium?
His claws were superheated from the optic blast.
I guess, okay, we're going with hot adamantium.
Well, this is just my opinion. They're not clear about this at all, but my impression was that he did have the adamantium skeleton because of the line marks across his body.
I thought that was supposed to be the case, but my impression was just how his head came off so simply was that he only had the adamantium forearm swords. But
I don't know.
We can debate. I don't think
Let's
hot
not.
adamantium. Technically, hot adamantium is not harder than cold adamantium because hot metal is technically softer. So why the fuck would it cut his spinal cord? That doesn't make any sense. You're fucking wrong. I out-scienced you.
I was just about to say I just remembered I don't give a shit. You win the X-Men Origins Wolverine debate. So I guess it was a different actor that played Deadpool, except for the close-up shots. It was Ryan Reynolds, but it was like a martial artist actor that played Deadpool when they were fighting.
I think his name was Scott Adkins, but I can't know for sure.
You're right.
Okay.
I recognize that name. It was Scott Adkins. Yeah.
We didn't actually mention, but this Weapon 11 is not affectionately, but unaffectionately nicknamed Baraka Pool because he looks a lot like Baraka from Mortal Kombat 2.
Except not as cool.
He's not nearly as cool. I do remember coming out of the fucking film, and I was so pissed that they sewed his mouth shut because he's the merc with a mouth, and so it really disappointed me. Like everything else, the fucking Cyclops eyes, the teleporting, all that other bullshit, I was probably most pissed that they got rid of his mouth because half of Deadpool's lethality is from fucking around with people and just like talking to them and fucking with their brain, and then he stabs them. Like, that's just how Deadpool works.
The biggest drawback to this film is the way they treated their characters, right? Like, they didn't get anyone's powers right. They changed Deadpool so much. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. What were they thinking? I don't get it.
They're thinking money.
Even with, like, Wolverine, in this film, he's had better hearing than he has in any other film. And it's like, even, like, when he's in the Weapon X program and he hears... Like, the whole reason he, like, goes into his berserker rage is because he overheard them mentioning that they're going to mind wipe him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not why he goes into the berserker rage, you idiots.
And they didn't mind wipe him until the fucking end of the movie with the adamantium bullet. Oh my god.
My god.
How did Stryker know that? Well, this adamantium bullet won't kill him, but his brain won't recover. How the fuck did he know that? He's not like a scientist like that. They haven't tested that before. Or have they? Huh?
He wouldn't know. I don't think that the memories would grow back, and even I think they would actually grow back because the nature of his brain always reverts to its optimal state.
Exactly. He's gone back from almost a single cell, and he's come back to life. And it's not like he lost all of his memories from that, and his brain was obviously turned to mush.
Exactly.
And so one little bullet punch. Fuck no.
I actually don't mind the bullet punch. What bothered
Fuck
me,
you, Jonathan.
What bothered me was the fact that they had to explain it beforehand.
They should have rewired his memories cybernetically like they did in the comics. What did you guys think of Deadpool being controlled through technology.
Oh, that was weird. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I guess it was just a vehicle to get Stryker, like, to be able to see the fight and add into it, but it was weird.
Do you think Deadpool will ever get the ability to teleport in the Deadpool films?
Maybe. I mean, in the comics, Weasel is actually, like, his electronics guy, and he helps him with a lot of stuff. It's not, the TJ Miller owner of the bar kind of thing that they've got. Mm-hmm. It's actually, the owner of, like, the bar is, like, a little guy named Scruffy. He's kind of cool from the comics. Read the Joe Kelly run. Joe Kelly's Deadpool run is fantastic. But, yeah, so Weasel makes him a teleporter, and he uses that, but he doesn't, like, use it all that often in battle. I don't think so. Well, you know what? I take that back. They will. They give him fucking time abilities by using Cable stuff in this last one, and so it's like, what next? Teleport. But yeah, he'll do stupid shit with it, and we'll laugh and we'll have fun.
Yeah, because in the comics, didn't he get his teleporter from Cable? Like, you got like the same body sliding technology.
I mean, it could be different thing. For what I remember, his buddy Weasel made that for him.
I can't remember.
There probably could be totally different timelines there, depending on what you read. If it was like the Daniel Way run, maybe that happened, but I'm most familiar, and my love of Deadpool is mostly from the 90s, early 2000s runs, which was the Joe Kelly, and then the Cable and Deadpool series, which was amazing. And then I read most of Daniel Way's, and then Brian Posehn and Duggan's. After around 2011, Deadpool got a little too saturated.
Yeah.
And I used to try and buy every single comic Deadpool was even cameoing in. And it got to a point where he just blew up, and I had to just kind of stop. And I just haven't been, collecting comics as much then. But I was almost oversaturated with my favorite character. And too many people weren't writing him well. So I kind of had to back away.
Mm-hmm. Did you play the video game?
I did.
I know that was well received.
The video game was fine. It was cute, and it was kind of like fun enough for a Deadpool fan, but as a video gamer, because I enjoy video games, it sucked as a video game, and it was like you were finished with it within 1 hour, and it was a really, really short game. So.
Oh wow! I just thought of one more justification for why this version of Deadpool didn't have the adamantium skeleton. Because in the end of Deadpool 2, when Deadpool comes out and shoots him in the head like 50 times, retconning this entire movie, or this version of Deadpool, like, I don't think he had adamantium bullets.
True. Boom. Canon.
That's true. Oh my god, that's true.
Yeah.
Thank God for Deadpool 2.
We need to give our reviews of the film, or a star rating.
Oh
fuck. Star rating. Come on. All right. So I wanted to give it 1.5 stars, but... You know what? Fuck it. We're giving it 1.5 stars. Jonathan was trying to sell me on giving it 2 stars, but I fucking refuse.
What? Wow.
It's a 1.5 star film.
I don't think it's a 1.5 star. I thought it was a 2 star. There are some redeeming qualities. You can't say there's 0.
Oh, sure. I can say that pretty easily. There's no redeeming qualities. See? See how easy that was?
Maybe redeeming quality is the wrong term, because there's nothing that redeems the film. But I do think that there were some moments that were definitely Wolverine.
All right. Listen, I'm going to say this. Didn't say it earlier, but I probably should have. I was looking so forward to this movie. The first comic book that Adam and I were introduced to Deadpool was Wolverine 88.
Oh, God, I love that fucking comic. Yeah, it's... Oh.
I probably bought it at a bookstore, and we were introduced to the character, and so having Wolverine and Deadpool in the same movie was... like the culmination of the beginning of the journey of learning who Deadpool was and all of this stuff. And I was so excited and so disappointed with the outcome. I can't even justify giving it 2 stars because I saw no redeeming qualities in it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with John. You guys kind of follow your scientific methods and you use your Monte Carlo method. And so you guys try to do shit for real. Not me and John. We don't give a fuck. This movie is a half-star movie. And it's because... And a half-star is because I love Hugh Jackman and Leah Schreiber, and they're not terrible, but their acting is only half-star acting.
Yeah.
And half of that half-star is because of Hugh Jackman's ass. It was really nice. Everything else in this film doesn't deserve it, and so it's a half-star film for me.
Same for me.
I think Jonathan gives it 2 stars because I think as a DC fan, as a person who doesn't care about these characters, you're not as disappointed. I don't think I've ever been as disappointed about a film as I was in this one.
Yes, agreed.
So,
But okay, so you guys.
I'm almost as disappointed in this film as I was in Man of Steel.
Yeah, let's go.
I was just about to say you guys give me flack for my review of Man of Steel, but like, could you? Okay, so yeah, maybe I'm a little biased, but like in an unbiased review, what would you give X-Men Origins Wolverine? If you were someone who wasn't as invested in the characters, is it as bad?
Yes.
As
Well, I mean, look at it. I mean, the acting, the writing, the graphics. There is no thing that even someone who doesn't understand the character, I feel, can really gravitate to. And so it's a fucking half-star film. It's a half-star film.
They'd already hit a home run with Wolverine in X-Men 2 or in X2.
Yeah.
And then following that up, there's nowhere to go but down.
If they did Logan after X2, though, that might have been
Yeah. Well, and I thought he was fine in Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Like, I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think he does a great job. But there's just too many shortfalls in this film
What's
for
a
me
shortfall, John?
Don't put me on the fucking spot like that.
Fucking short.
I'd say your mama, but that's
It's
my
your
mama
mama.
too.
yeah, we can't do the same thing. We can't do the same problem here.
So no, it's a half star, and I'm not waving from it.
Good. If you listen to the episode that we did with the Blast from Our Past podcast where we reviewed the 90s X-Men cartoon, we cast what we think would be a great X-Men MCU film. So definitely, after you listen to this review, go ahead and check that out, and then listen to their other episodes because it's fantastic. And I can't speak highly enough of that show. It's amazing. One of the things I like most about your show is that how you started off right out of the gate with like perfect production quality.
Don't hype up our first episode because we both were using shittier mics. We have since bought nicer podcast mics, and we've done a little bit better. But the first episode's pretty okay. Everything else kind of gets a little bit better. I love the content.
Yeah, the content is amazing. What's your next episode coming out on the Blast from Our Past podcast?
The next one coming out is actually a review of the movie Sniper.
Yeah, Tom Berenger and Billy Zane. It was kind of a war film, somewhat in the vein of Rambo First Blood a little bit, but it was in the early 90s.
You're also doing a G.I. Joe, right? I remember seeing
and G.I.
episodes
Joe.
of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a military episode.
Yeah.
And then we do a recasting of Sniper. And then the one after that will be Mortal Kombat and Power Rangers. So we're switching kind of to a martial arts kind of movie. And we're going to recast Mortal Kombat because I think that movie's probably due for a revamp.
A good reboot, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to that, guys. And listeners, go check them out for sure, definitely. Thank you guys so much for being on our podcast. I know I feel like it's a little bit past due that we were able to get you on, but we stick to a strict schedule here.
We appreciate you guys giving us the time. You guys have a fantastic listenership, and I have no doubt every single one of them will also subscribe to our podcast, and we will give you hugs and kisses and BJs and HJs and OJs and any kind of J you want if you want to come and listen to our podcast.
I'm trying to decipher what some of those were.
Adam's views do not necessarily represent my own.
That's fine.
If you don't know what an OJ is, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on the show again. And we'll have to have you guys on later, too.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Okay, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was our X-Men Origins Wolverine review. If you do subscribe to the Blast from Our Past podcast, definitely make sure you cash in on those BJs or OJs or whatever they are that Adam promised, because he can't just make those promises willy-nilly without being accountable for that. So make sure you do that. In our next episode, we will be doing another duel episode. This time it's going to be the Wonder Twins versus Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we've never done pairs of superheroes against pairs of superheroes before.
Right.
So it'll be interesting how we're still going to have to figure out how to do that simulation wise. I think what we're going to have to do is kind of compile the stats and then probably average the two characters or add them together and then compare those numbers. I don't know. We'll have it all figured out by the time of the matchup, though.
Right.
And it'll be practice for a much larger team versus team episode that we're planning at the end of the year.
But we're not going to say anything about that.
But we're not going to say anything about it. We're just going to tease it a little bit. Just tease it.
Just a little tease. We were originally going to do Huck and Dove, but we decided that the Wonder Twins may be a better match. So it's kind of like a last-minute switch, but it's going to be fun, I think. It's going to be a good match.
Yeah, good match. If you don't know who the Wonder Twins are, check out the Super Friends television show. If you haven't already, it's been around a while. But yeah, this does it for this episode. So go ahead and look forward to that dual episode next week. The Cloak and Dagger show is going to debut on Freeform. So check that out because we might talk about that pilot episode in the next episode. So stay tuned after this show and you'll get a preview of the bonus content blooper episode that we're going to be posting to Patreon this Thursday.
Right. And if you go to our website, dynamicduel.com, there's a link there to our Patreon account as well as all the episodes that we've done, and our merch store.
And yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Up, and away.
True believers. She was supposed to serve the comedic relief as the comic relief. However, she wasn't funny, and I forgot what I was going to say. Please stop the recording. His character arc was my favorite.
Yeah. He was a good...
What?
You're rubbing your legs.
Oh, sorry.
Sounded like that. I was like, all right.
Ew, no!
Let me stop.
All right, Green Arrow. All right, Green Arrow versus Hawkeye. Big important episode. We have two major characters.
What are the biggest?
Going at it. Fuck. Who won the no prize? Nope. Fuck.
What Marvel or DC I said that weird. Fuck. He's also, he's going to be an Aquaman earlier before Aquaman, but later this year.
You mean he's going to be an Ant-Man?
What did I say?
He's going to be an Aquaman.
Fuck!